Hey GED students, I've got a student, Shayna, who was working a equation of a line. She was trying to graph a line basically using a t-table, and the line just didn't work out for her. And I'm so super glad that Shayna knew that this was not working, because she got her points and then went to draw them and it looked something like this. And she said, oh dear goodness. That's not a line. That's not what I was expecting. So yeah, obviously, if you get something like that, something broke. So let's take a look. It says complete the table for y equals x over 4 minus 1 and graph the resultant line. So, Shayna saw that language in there, knew she was supposed to be getting us a line. Now, they did give us an xy table in this particular problem, but they didn't give us any x values. And one of the things that students struggle with most of all when they're given a problem like this is that you're allowed to choose your x's. You literally could choose any x value you want. Now, of course, my graph here is only so big. Like, let's see, on my x-axis, I've got up to 5 here, just the way I'm labeling it. And I've got up down to -5. So I wouldn't pick x's that were, a ton bigger than my graph. It doesn't have to be labeled by ones, by the way. I just chose to do it by ones. I could have had my graph done by twos. That would have given me a little more space on my graph. So, in fact, I think I will do that. Just looking ahead to this problem, I'm going to leave it labeled like this because even though it doesn't matter what x's you choose, there are smart x's to choose and there are foolish x's to choose. So let me pull out a different color here and show you what I mean. So this is the equation. Y equals x over 4 minus 1. And Shayna said, I know over 4 means the same as divided by 4. And you're absolutely right, Shayna. But what that means to me is whatever x I choose, I'm going to have to divide it by 4. I'm going to say that again. Whatever x I choose, I'm going to have to divide by 4. So I got to tell you, I am the kind of woman who does not want to do work with fractions and decimals. I don't want to do ugly division. And so what I would pick is I would only pick x's that are divisible by 4. What does that word mean? Divisible means that it divides perfectly with no remainder. I'm not going to get fractions. I'm not going to get decimal answers. And you don't have to do this. I mean, you could pick anything for x you wanted, but you might get some ugly answers that confuse you. So I'm going to pick only x's that are divisible by 4. So I like that you chose 0. That was a really good choice because I can divide 0 by anything. And I like that you chose 8. But when Shayna chose her other x's, she also chose a 1 and a 2. Those are not x's that I would choose in this particular problem because I don't want to do 1 divided by 4. It's not fun, pretty math. It's fraction math. It's decimal math. Same thing with 2 divided by 4. I'm going to pick numbers that are nice to divide by 4, like 4 or -4. Okay, now I have 4 x values. I really only technically need 3 guys to make sure that I have a straight line. But the particular worksheet that Shayna was doing had 4 blanks. So we're going to pick 4 numbers here. And let's go ahead and see what happens when I put these particular x values in, what I get out for y. So let's first substitute in 0. So Shayna, you did it absolutely correct when you substituted in 0. You were right that 0 divided by 4 is just 0. And if you subtract 1 from 0, you will get -1. So nice job. Okay, so very nice job. I found 1 point on my line. The point 0, -1 is one of the solutions to this equation, so it's one of the points on this line. So I'm going to erase this work if y'all don't mind, so that I can do the next one. So now let's see what happens to this exact same equation when instead of turning x into 0, I turn x into 8. So I'll substitute in 8. Why? Because I chose 8 for x. Divide it by 4, and then subtract 1. So 8 divided by 4 is indeed 2, and if I subtract 1 from that, I do get 1. So look at that. You were correct on that one as well. I saw you had the 0.81, Shayna. But the ones that you got wrong were when you substituted in 1 and 2, and I wonder if it's because you flipped the operation. So let's go take a look here. Getting confused by the fractions or decimals, you might have divided incorrectly. Okay, so let's try this one. Y equals x over 4 minus 1. Okay, so I've chosen to turn the x into 4. So 4 over 4, 4 divided by 4 is nice, easy math. That is, of course, 1. And 1 minus 1 is just 0. So when I made x be 4, my y became 0. That's another solution to this equation. So that's another point on this line. And let's do one more, just since your worksheet had 4 blanks. Again, if nobody told me how many points to pick, I'd only do 3 because I'm lazy. As I joke, I say 2 points makes a line, but 3 makes sure it's straight. So let's plug in that negative 4 x. Negative 4 divided by 4 is just negative 1. And if I minus 1 from that, I'll get y is equal to negative 2. And now we can put those points on our line. So let's take a look. 0, negative 1 would be about here. 8, 1, so let's see, 8, 1 would be about there. 4, 0, 4, 0 would be about there. And negative 4, negative 2, yeah, that line is looking a little straighter. Okay, now technically this problem is done. Y'all feel free to turn me off, but I just want to show Shayna something else. So Shayna, let's consider if you had used those points. You know, you're like, well, Kate, I thought it didn't matter what x's I choose. It really doesn't. If you had used 1 and 2, would you still be on this line? You still would. The results wouldn't be as pretty or as easy to think about or to graph, but it'd still be on this line. Let me show you what I mean. So let's see, y is equal to x over 4 minus 1. Okay, if I took y equals, and I plugged in for that x a 1, I'd get 1 divided by 4. Not 4 divided by 1 now. 1 divided by 4. One whole thing broken into 4 equal pieces. Now you could leave this as a fraction, or you could do the division to turn it into a decimal. And I think that's what I'll do just because more students have an easier time with decimals. And I would get y is equal to negative 0.75. Okay, bigger than 0, a little less than 1. Oh, I said it, but I didn't write it. Negative 0.05. So let me try that again. Little smaller than 0, little bigger than negative 1. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that 1, negative 7.5 ought to be on this graph. Let's see if it is. 1, and look at that, negative 7.5. There it is. It's just harder to see because it's an in-between number. It's a decimal instead of a whole number answer. But it's still on the line, so it would have worked if you did your division in the correct order. Okay, so let's try the next one. Y is equal to 2 over 4 minus 1. Okay, so again, 2 over 4 is about 0.5. It is exactly 0.5, actually. And I did that by dividing 2 divided by 4. And you could do it in your TI if you don't like doing it by hand. And 0.5 minus 1, again, you could do that in your calculator, but that's 0.5. That's a negative half. Okay, so what did I just find out? I found out when my x is 2, my y is negative 0.5. And indeed, we see that. When my x is 2, my y is about negative 1/2. I'm still on the line. Okay, so it's not that your points were not good. Your points were fine. It's just that your points were hard for you to think about because your fraction and decimal skills were weak. So to sum up what we're saying here, if you choose your x's wisely, your little fraction problem will go away. Okay, hope that makes sense. If you have any questions about this or any other GED math topic, be sure to drop it in the comments. I'll do my best to answer it.